A gallon of milk cost $1 in 1995. Today, it's $4. Your parents bought a house for $90,000. You're looking at $400,000 for the same neighborhood. And here's the part nobody wants to say out loud. This isn't a glitch, it's the design. You've been told inflation is complicated. Supply chains, corporate greed, global markets. And sure, all of that plays a role. But strip away the jargon and you're left with something almost embarrassingly simple. Something that's been happening in slow motion your entire life. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. This isn't about panicking, it's about understanding the machine. Because right now, that machine is running exactly as intended, and you're the one paying for it. Let's start with the kid version. Imagine you're 5 years old. You have 10 toy cars. Your friend has 10 toy cars. That's the whole economy, 20 toy cars total. Now imagine your mom walks in and gives everyone 10 more toy cars. Sounds great, right? More toys for everyone. Except, here's what happens. You both still want the same rare blue race car, but now you've got more cars to trade with. So instead of offering 2 cars for the blue one, you offer 4. Your friend offers 5. The price just went up, but the blue car didn't change. There aren't more blue cars, there's just more of everything else. That's inflation. More money chasing the same stuff. And in the real world, the mom handing out toys is the government. The toys are dollars, and they've been printing a lot of them. Here's a number. In 2020, the United States increased the money supply by 26% in a single year. 26%. That's not a typo. They created more money in 12 months than in the previous decade combined. Why? COVID. The economy froze. Millions lost jobs. The government stepped in with stimulus checks, business loans, unemployment extensions. It wasn't evil, it was survival. But money doesn't come from nowhere. They didn't tax it. They didn't borrow all of it. They printed it. And this is where it gets uncomfortable. Because when you create trillions of dollars out of thin air and push them into the economy, every dollar that already existed just became worth a little less. Your savings account didn't shrink in number, it shrank in power. You didn't get poorer on paper, you got poorer in reality. Now let's follow that new money. It doesn't spread evenly. That's the part they don't mention in the textbooks. The money goes to banks first, big institutions, corporations. They get access to cheap loans and liquidity before anyone else. They buy assets, real estate, stocks, commodities. Prices rise before the money ever reaches your paycheck. By the time you get a stimulus check or a modest raise, the cost of rent, food, and gas has already adjusted. You're not catching up. You're falling behind at a slower rate. And here's the kicker. The people closest to the money printer benefit most. The people furthest away, workers, savers, retirees on fixed income, they bear the cost. It's not a conspiracy. It's just math, and the math is brutal. For a while, everyone pretends it's fine. The Federal Reserve calls it transitory, a temporary blip, supply chain issues, pandemic hangover. Just wait it out. But then 6 months pass, then 12. Eggs cost $6, gas hits $5, your grocery bill looks like a car payment, and the word transitory quietly disappears from official statements. Because here's what they knew and didn't say. Once inflation gets baked into expectations, it becomes a self-fulfilling loop. Workers demand higher wages because rent went up. Businesses raise prices because labor costs went up. Landlords raise rent because everything else went up. Round and round. And the only way to stop it is painful. Raise interest rates, make borrowing expensive, slow down the economy, kill demand. In other words, make people spend less by making them poorer. That's the cure, a controlled recession. So they did. Interest rates went from near zero to over 5% in 2 years, the fastest increase in 40 years. Mortgages doubled, credit cards became traps, and inflation finally started to cool. But the prices didn't come back down, they just stopped rising as fast. Here's the thing nobody wants to admit. We're never going back. That $4 milk, it's the new normal. The $400,000 house, that's the baseline now. Because deflation, actual prices going down, is terrifying to the system. If people expect prices to drop, they stop spending, they wait, the economy freezes. So central banks would rather manage slow, steady inflation than risk deflation. 2% per year is the target. Doesn't sound like much, but do the math. 2% inflation every year means prices double roughly every 35 years. The dollar you save today will buy half as much when you retire, and that's if they hit the target. They've been overshooting. Your grandparents bought a house on a single income and saved in a pension. You're working 2 jobs and watching your savings lose value in a checking account. That's not because you're doing something wrong. The system changed. So why do it? Why print money, tolerate inflation, and erode savings? Because the alternative is collapse. Modern economies run on debt. Governments borrow, corporations borrow, people borrow, and debt is only sustainable if the money supply keeps growing. If you freeze the money supply, debt becomes impossible to service, defaults cascade, the system implodes. Inflation is a release valve. It makes old debt easier to pay off because you're paying with cheaper dollars. It rewards borrowers and punishes savers. And since governments are the biggest borrowers of all, they have every incentive to keep the printer running. You're not imagining it. You're not bad with money. The game is rigged towards people who own assets and against people who only own their labor. And the longer this goes on, the wider that gap becomes. So where does that leave you? You can't stop inflation. You can't vote it away. You can't opt out of the currency. But you can understand it. You can stop blaming yourself for not keeping up with a system designed to outpace you. The prices aren't rising because things are worth more. They're rising because the money is worth less. And as long as the incentives stay the same, this continues, slowly, quietly, predictably. The question isn't whether prices will keep rising, it's whether you'll understand why before it's too late to adjust. Because the 5-year-old explanation is simple, but the 30-year consequences, those are anything but.